Hello! Today I'm gonna walk you through some of my influences. I hope you're ready because this is some nerdy shit. So, for inspiration and art historical context, I've been looking at this catalog of French landscapes from 1880 to 1920. This one. Can you see that? Right here. Specifically, this is for the pictures of like the beach scape that I posted elsewhere. You'll see it. Hard to miss it. Anyway, what's interesting in the book is that it talks about the northern and southern French tradition. The northern is kind of focused on like these informal and realistic aspects of the landscape, and the southern tradition is a bit more idealized. And there are aspects to both of those traditions that I think are relevant to my work. I think compositionally, I'm pretty staunchly aligned with the northern tradition. I was looking a lot at the photography of Edward Auger, pardon my French. But yeah, his photos are really dynamic in terms of line and contrast, and those are a lot of the things that I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on where elements are placed, gestalt lines and all the traditional things in composition. But I'm also very much interested in the realistic aspect of it. The beauty that comes out of it is in that composition, but the subject itself, I'm not too concerned with laying it out or setting it up or adding makeup or anything like that, right? These are just, it's a day at the beach. At the same time, though, I think there is something very evocative about the idealization that happens in the Southern tradition. There's like a romanticization there that I think is very interesting and something that I'm interested in. Elsewhere, I've talked about suburban nostalgia being a theme that I keep coming back to, and nostalgia is a part of that. The sort of memory of something in a pleasant light. And in fact, during this time, France was undergoing a transformation, going from more agricultural cities to more industrial cities. So people were feeling that nostalgia, that sort of yearning for the old countryside. And in fact, around this time, the idea of the French countryside was just beginning to emerge. People were taking weekend trips to spend time away from the city and in nature. Private parks were now opening up to the public, and all this access and interest in outdoor spaces informed the artwork. And I think that French sentiment parallels one that we currently face, where outdoor gatherings are kind of a coveted luxury. And kind of my kind of harebrained theory is that it fills our perception of these photographs, of this media that depicts any kind of nature, with a certain reverence, right? Like whether or not the subject is familiar and whether the photographs are a realistic representation of the subject or not. I think we're in a space where we want to see more of the outdoors, and since it isn't always directly accessible, we're getting more used to representations in media and art. And I guess photography is an interesting medium in that regard, because it kind of blurs that line between art, meaning, sort of an expression of the artist's intent, versus, utility, I guess, a photograph for an insurance company or a real estate brochure, right? Like those live streams on YouTube of people walking through the rain in New York City. It's not really an artistic representation of New York City. It's just a camera pointing at the same streets that you would see. It might be a really nice camera, but there's no artistic expression there other than sharing this experience of walking through a rainy New York street. But again, your experience of that video may evoke something from you, and it may evoke something from you in a similar way that art might, or that art tries to. So why wouldn't that be? Is it art? I don't know. Who cares? My point is that I think that we're currently in a space and time where we desire a lot of these images of the outdoors. We desire this kind of access to the outdoors, especially when we can't always get to it ourselves, in a similar way that the people in France did in the late 19th and early 20th century. Okay, I'll stop there. In future videos, I'll talk more about landscape art in general and start to tie in some of these themes and other stuff I've been thinking about into my current work. I hope you'll come back for that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did and you're feeling generous, feel free to buy me a coffee. Okay, take care.